Hi, I'm Laura Rolfe, host of Powered by Franchising and CEO of Mint Franchise Consultants. Today I have a special solo show where I'm going to be talking about the fresh insights that will help you prepare for business ownership in 2026. Hard to believe that we are at the end of 2025, and whether you're exploring franchising for the first time or deep in your research, waiting for the right moment, this episode will give you clarity and confidence. We're going to cover some topics like what's trending in franchising, the rise of micro markets and why those should be looked at, the 6 to 10 week evaluation process, as well as funding truth bombs and who wins in franchise. I also want to add my most eye-opening stories from this year, so grab a notebook. This one is packed. So we're going to start with what's trending in franchising for 2026. A big shift towards boring profitable isn't really a shift. We've talked about this lots on the show, that boring businesses tend to be the most profitable for a lot of reasons. Many boring businesses are home-based, and so you don't have that lease, you don't have tons of employees at a physical location. They're definitely serviceable franchise opportunities that are going to have higher earnings claims when we take a look at franchise disclosure documents. The services that continue to dominate are home services like plumbing, HVAC, painting, garage doors, fencing, gutters, roofing, pest control, as well as remediation. All boring big businesses. So one of the myths that I want to address is, do you have to have experience in the industry to become a franchisee of any of these home service brands? And you don't. What I guide my clients on are taking a look at what your experiences are. If you've led teams, are understanding key performance indicators. If you've got a strong sales background, those are great opportunities to manage a big business, and then you hire for the talent to be the plumbers, the electricians, the installers of fence posts, gutters, etc. I love this industry. There's many opportunities between 150 and 300,000 for pretty large territories. And I think those are going to continue to trend in 2026 as people are looking for recession-resistant business opportunities. I also want to talk about the not so glamorous but massive in demand and essential businesses for other industries. The average household spends between $3,000 and $6,000 a year on home services. So this is a hot market. And they can scale quickly. I've had lots of clients this year that will talk about some specific examples a little bit later in the show of people who have invested in an electrical company without an electrical background, somebody who's invested in a technology company who does have a tech background as well as sales experience. He's actually in training as we speak. So we'll talk about Jason in a few minutes. So we're going to shift gears. What else is trending in 2026? Senior services continue to surge. 12,000 people turn 65 every day. Those numbers are going to continue over the next 10 years. So now is a great time to get into that industry. Some people think, gosh, well, there's a lot of home care brands out there. And there are, but that's because there's a lot of need for home services. Even the top senior care brands are not even approaching or meeting the need of all of the seniors who need help in their day-to-day lives to help them age in place and remain at home. Senior care plus home services for seniors equals a huge opportunity. Some of the services that you would provide as a franchise are going to be light medical assistance with activities of daily living. I have a couple of family members who've utilized home services, including helping with standby assist in the shower or helping with just day-to-day needs in the home, cleaning, light cooking, grocery shopping, etc. Some of the senior care models include nursing care, physical therapy, occupational therapy, or transport to doctor's appointments, daycares, senior centers, etc. So there's lots of different opportunities in this space. There's even a brand that works on home modification as well as anything necessary for home improvements and handyman services that I really like. They've had a lot of growth over the last several years, so that home modification and that handyman service in the senior space is another one to look at. This year, we also helped a lot of people look at automated retail. Those are things like healthy vending machines, smart markets, unattended retail. I like those because many of those smart retail opportunities, you can keep your full-time job while working a side gig, managing a vending route or smart markets. They're a lower investment. You can get into those with several machines in several locations for anywhere from $100,000 to $150,000. So that semi-absentee scalable business model is terrific. If you wanted to learn more about vending, I would refer you to a podcast I did this year with Brian Kowalski of Naturals to Go and Better Clean Vending Machines. He has scaled his business from 6 machines up to almost 30 over the last 12 months. And we're going to continue to see investors look at those models that have low staff and easy to operate with that recurring revenue. We're also seeing a focus on wellness and beauty franchises. Women ages 35 to 65 are driving the market spend. And brands like Amazing Lash Studios, Radiant Waxing, Elements Massage are doing exceptionally well. Membership-driven, predictable revenues are important in these types of businesses. Another brand I really like is Spa Via Day Spa. I've had the opportunity to go visit a few of those spas when I've been in Colorado, met with the franchise development team as well as the franchisees, and have been able to validate on my own what drives those membership model health and wellness businesses. I personally love the services of getting a massage regularly. I go in for facials on a consistent basis, have a gym membership, all to maintain my health and well-being. Many of these models do have low overhead and high margins. So if you're interested in chatting a little bit more about those, we certainly can talk about them. There's also some mobile service-based franchises. I like to think of mobile grooming as an example. Zoe is a candidate that I just fell in love with about a year ago. We connected because of some familiarity with our family situations, and she is just exploding in her Woofie's Pet Salon. Woofie's Pet Ventures is a great brand to take a look at. There's other mobile service-based franchises as well out there that have low fixed costs, no lease, and no brick and mortar. They're faster to break evens, and you don't have a large staff complement, so they're easy to scale. They're great for first-time owners and corporate refugees. We're going to now switch over to micro markets. There's a few in the industry that really stand out in my mind. But first, we'll talk about why micro markets are hidden gold mines. Small towns with a population of 10 to 20,000 people are outperforming expectations. Some of the reasons are low rent in those more rural communities, limited competition, and strong community loyalty. You could be the only gym in a smaller community, for example. So a brand like Anytime Fitness is a great choice for a community with a minimum of 7,000 people and definitely saturating those communities with, on average, 20% of community members joining an Anytime Fitness gym in those micro markets with very little to no competition. I also love some of the painting franchises. Oftentimes we see these rural communities that have limited services. So taking a service that may be more difficult to find in those micro markets can create huge demand, and you can have a faster word of mouth for growth in those markets. You typically have higher retention of loyal customer base. So if they need you to do one project, they're going to have you come back to do more projects. So something like That One Painter or a Garage Up are two brands that come to mind that do well in those micro markets. I was talking with a candidate earlier this week about some like-size markets to his. He lives in Prescott, Arizona, and so we were looking at a particular brand, and he's validating with other franchisees in similar size markets like Payson, which has a population of 16,000, perfect for fitness, as well as some other small, stable communities. So we'll take a look at those together if you want to look at growing a business in some of those areas. Senior care also does well in those micro markets because there's fewer competitors, and you tend to be able to draw from the community for your caregivers as well. So people already know, like, and trust your staff members that are coming on board. Pet care, pet needs are also great in those more rural communities. So all different kinds of opportunities that we can help you validate what makes sense in your particular market. We look at household age and income, distribution, the other small businesses in the area, and then we can look at who might be an anchor in the community to help you with your business growth. And the other topic that I'd like to cover this week is how to go through the discovery process. The franchise evaluation timeline typically lasts anywhere from 6 to 12 weeks. I'm seeing on average right now about 8 weeks. That doesn't mean that all people are pushed into the discovery process quickly with a brand. I like to say, take your time. This is probably the second biggest investment that you're going to make in your life, is investing in a business. The first biggest investment you're going to make is the investment of who you're going to marry, your partner, your lifelong soulmate. But businesses are a big investment in your time and resources. So we want to make sure that we're patiently reviewing all of the requirements to find the right fit. So first off, we're going to do an intake assessment together. I'm going to learn more about your background, your goals. Are you going to work full-time or part-time in the business? Is there going to be anybody else involved in the business with you? Or then I may ask you to take a business builder assessment profile to figure out what your value systems are, your background, and what would be in best alignment with business ownership for you. With more than 3,000 franchises out there, there's a lot of opportunities. Are you risk adverse and want to invest in a business that has been well established and around for a long time? Or are you ready to roll up your sleeves and get on board with an emerging brand that may have less than 30 locations and help shape the future of that franchise? That business builder assessment program or profile test will help us with the discovery to figure out which ones are best in alignment. I'll then go back and use that assessment and take a look at brands and confirm that they're available for franchising in your market. We do work with clients all over the US, Canada, and also foreign investors. So we want to make sure that we're finding the best brands that align with your goals. And once we do that, and we've pre-registered you for those brands, when we're confirming you for the territory, We'll begin the discovery process with the brand. So you'll set up a initial call with the franchise, take a deeper dive on the brand, the territory, what it means to be a franchisee with that particular brand. They'll want to learn more about your why. Why are you looking at business ownership? Why that particular brand? What your investment comfort area is. You'll review your skills, strengths, and lifestyle goals, and then decide if you want to continue to move forward through the brand development reviews and continue to take a deep dive at looking at the financials, the franchise disclosure document. In that disclosure document, you'll look at 23 different items from the initial investment costs, the ongoing investment you'll need to make in the business, earnings claims, business support, a list of current franchisees that are operating nationwide, as well as what does growth look like with that franchise system? Do they have a solid growth projectile? Have they had many closures? We'll take a look at that together. You'll also learn more about the systems, marketing, training, staffing complements, etc. So once you kind of have that under your belt, then in the coming weeks, you'll begin speaking with current franchisees. This is my absolute favorite part of the whole discovery process, because you're talking with people who've already taken the leap and invested in the business. And you can ask them any questions you like. Some of the questions that I encourage you to ask are, what made you choose this business? How long till you were cash flow positive? Would you invest in this business model again? Would you expand if there were additional territories or locations available either nearby or in other states? What does the culture of the franchise look like? How hard is it to find employees for a particular business model? And I provide you with a list of some of those questions and others to dig deep with those franchisees and find out if you see yourself in the business. You can also talk about, what does a bad Tuesday look like? My friend Bobby Kelly with Home Helpers always talks about bad Tuesdays. If you're in business for yourself, you're going to have a bad Tuesday. So what does that look like? How do you reach out to others for help and support? Chances are they've had a bad Tuesday themselves. So it's important to get to know what those might look like, those bad Tuesdays, before you invest in the business. Also getting an idea what the first year looked like for that particular franchisee is going to give you a clearer picture of expectations of what that might like for you. Because it does take a lot of work to start a business, franchised or independent. So you'll get the truth here for the most part, and you'll talk to a few different franchisees in the system, and you'll get different ideas of what makes a top franchisee, what makes a middle of the road franchisee, and why some franchisees may be struggling. Then typically the final step in the discovery process is meeting with the executive team, either at the headquarters or virtually. You're going to be checking to see, is this a good cultural fit between you and the franchisor? Franchisors are going to award franchises to their franchisees. You're not just buying into a system. It does have to be a mutually agreed upon decision that you're a right fit for the franchisor and that they're a right fit for you. I encourage you to involve others in this decision-making process, a spouse, a family member, a trusted friend, somebody who could be a sounding board in addition to us here at Mint Franchise Consultants to help you make that informed decision before investing in the franchise. And then you're going to make a decision. You're going to lock in a territory, sign the franchise agreement, and pay the franchise fee. You're going to review the launch time frame, the training program, how long until you are projected to open. So those are all steps that we'll cover throughout the process. We may also touch about funding opportunities. We work with several different franchise funders throughout the process and can help connect you with franchise funders, which we'll talk about in just a minute. But once you sign that agreement and schedule your training date, you're ready to start working towards that launch of your business. So funding, SBA is moving a little bit slower, but is still an excellent choice for most of the candidates that we work with. As a reminder, if you've been listening to the podcast for a while, you do need to have at least a 10% cash injection for a home-based business, 20% cash injection for a brick and mortar business. Sometimes the liquidity requirements are a little bit higher, but we can dive into that based on the brands that you're looking at. You do need to have a credit score of 685 or higher. 700 or higher is better. And some sort of income or cash reserves to make sure that you're able to pay for your home requirements as well as invest in your business until you become cash flow positive. So we work with several different brands in the funding category. We also work with some funders that specialize in rollovers for business startup, also known as ROBs. Those are a very powerful mechanism for investing in a business. They are also called 401k rollovers. They're tax-free and penalty-free. So if you have a 401k or an IRA, you're investing in other people's businesses. So the ROBs allows you to reallocate those funds. Instead of investing in other people's business, you invest in your business. There are some fees associated with making that change from a traditional 401k into a ROBs for your business. And then there is usually a monthly maintenance fee. But if you're interested in exploring that, that's probably one of the quickest ways to fund a business and great for people who have a strong retirement account. HELOCs, which are becoming more and more popular with the home values that have risen over the last several years. That can be a cash liquidity injection into your business. So that's something else that might be a good option. They typically have very fast approval in just a few weeks. They're great for low overhead service brands and useful for funding build outs or creating early cash flow. So there's many sources, and we can mix and match these depending upon what strategies align best with your goals, your background, and what you have. So let's make sure that you get locked into your dream market with your dream brand by getting you into the funding discussions early. It never hurts to have those discussions. Doesn't cost anything to talk to people to learn more about funding options for a business, whether it's an independent business, a franchise, or a resale. So next I want to cover, who is franchising really for? So franchising is not really for the entrepreneurial rebel. You know who you are out there. Might not be listening to the podcast today if you're a trailblazer with your own ideas, who thinks big and doesn't want to follow other people's systems. But franchising is for people who are great at following systems. If you have grown in your career over the years and managed people, key performance indicators, managed a marketing budget and a marketing plan, this could be an outstanding opportunity for you to invest in a franchise. Because essentially, if you can follow a game plan and a business plan, you could be successful with a little bit of hard work in the process. So the people who win in franchising are coachable. They're willing to follow proven steps, have a desire to build strong teams, ability to stay focused. You have a clear why, as far as why are you interested in franchising? Why do you want to be a business owner? And if you're a builder who wants to scale something big. Operators, there are some franchise models that are owner-operator models. Those are hands-on, process-driven models where you might start in a truck, you might start in doing the thing that your business does. That is a great way to start in business. But I like to see my investors invest in something to build, who are empire builders, build something that's going to be big. There's also those owners who may have a full-time job. They're may be acting more of a CEO of their business and manage a manager. If you are an executive owner of a franchise, you still do need to be involved to some level with your franchise. Nobody's going to love your franchise as much as you do as the investor, and so you will need to be involved. We also encourage you to be involved as an owner because your general manager that you hire may leave in 6 months and you don't want them to take all of that knowledge about your business with them, leaving you scrambling to find a new manager who you have to onboard, and you're going to lose traction in the process. So having you involved in the business, even as an executive owner, is going to be critical to the success of your business. And we can talk more about those types of business models as well. Mentors also make great franchisees, people who have customer-facing roles, sales roles. I think in any kind of business that you own, there is some level of sales, even if you don't want it to be. You're always selling yourself if you're talking to friends about your new business or going to a BNI group, Chamber of Commerce meeting, etc. You're the face of your business, and as such, are going to be talking about your business in some sort of capacity. Innovators also bring creativity to their franchise, and yes, innovation is welcomed in most franchise systems, but we do ask that you respect the system and follow the systems. But there's some franchises out there that love adding new revenue lines for all of the franchisees in their system. And if your innovative idea makes sense, then it's certainly one to bring to the franchisor and your peer group to see if it might be implemented in your market and then perhaps system-wide. So finding the right business model that fits your personality and also fits your investment goals is really important to your success as an entrepreneur. I want to talk a little bit about some of my highlights from 2025, some of my favorite folks that I worked with. The first one is Jason Sherwood. He is a new franchisee with SD Tech, which is an emerging tech brand. Jason is a veteran, great at following systems. He was laid off from a government job earlier this year, and we've been working together for several months to help him find the right business and then make that informed decision to move forward as SD Tech's newest franchisee. So very, very excited about him bringing systems, discipline, and leadership to his business. And he's come up with an amazing game plan to launch his business once he gets back from training next week. Perfect example of a veteran succeeding in franchising. So we'll be hearing more about them probably next year. We'll have Jason on the show and talk to him about why he chose SD Tech and what it was like to launch his franchise. Also want to talk about Zoe. Zoe invested in Woofie's. She had a few changes in her family situation last year. She lost her father, and I'd lost my father recently too. And so we just connected. And so it took her a little bit of, she had to work through some things, but she loves pets and animals, and she was eager to get started with her Woofie's Pet Ventures franchise. She launched in June of 2025 and has just been a dynamo, hiring a terrific general manager, great groomers, and building a big business. So excited for her to continue to grow that legacy business for her kids. Very excited for her. I meet a lot of people through LinkedIn as well. And so a client that I've been working with, Bernie, has been, he's gone through the discovery process with Mr. Sparky. He has no electric background, but he saw the vision of building a big recession-proof business through an electric company. And he also is going through the onboarding process with Mr. Sparky, hiring electricians and ordering his vans. He's recently signed a lease on his space for his Mr. Sparky franchise. And so we'll be hearing more from him in 2026 as well. Other folks that I've been working with, I have a lovely client, Amy, who she's a nurse and is very compassionate. She's worked in senior care previously in her career, so she's been drawn for her passion to care for seniors to help them age in place. So we're in the discovery process with a couple of brands now that are recession-proof and mission-driven. So these are just a couple of examples of folks that are building their big business in the last couple of months. We have another gentleman, Billy, who at first, he's got a plumbing background, and he was looking at a plumbing franchise, very excited about that. But as he dug a little bit deeper, he wasn't quite sure that that was a right fit for him. So after learning a little bit more about Billy and his goals and his why, he pivoted and has now launched his Property Management Inc. franchise, and it's going to be in property management. So, we could go down the process and we could look at a brand, and it may seem like a good fit for a short period of time, but that's one of the reasons why we have the discovery process, is to help you pivot if the first brand that you're looking at sounds great, but there's something that just doesn't feel like it's aligned with you. We can pivot and we can start looking at other brands that are available in your market, something that's tailored just to you. So if any of this resonates with you, I do encourage you to book a franchise exploratory call with either Kate or me. I hope you've learned something valuable in today's podcast, and we look forward to connecting and sharing more about business ownership opportunities in your market that best align with your values and your why. You can find more at www.mintfranchiseconsultants.com. We do have a link to schedule a call on our calendars, as well as a franchise search in the upper right-hand corner of our website. Thanks again for tuning in to this week's episode of Powered by Franchising.